So far, we have been working pretty exclusively with controllers and views. And what we're going to be doing now is creating kind of a simple little model that will allow us to add some data in a form. So I'm going to close some of these. I have way too much open. And then we're going to come into our model folder. And we are going to right click on that folder. We're going to go to add. And all a model is a class. And it is a class with properties. So we're going to go down and select class. And we're going to use the same naming conventions that we use for controllers. So we're going to call this people model. And it's just a C# class. And we're going to go ahead and click on add. And you'll notice that it immediately shows up in the model folder. And the model is created in its own little namespace. And at this point, it is empty. And so what we're going to be doing is creating basically public variables. And then we're going to be adding a get and a set method for those. So in between our curly braces, we're going to key in public and the return data type. In our case, this is string, followed by the variable name, first name, and then in curly braces, we're going to add our get and set methods. And I'm going to go ahead and capitalize this. And we'll do another one. And a third one. And this one is a return data type of integer. Oh. That's what happens when you miskey. Now let's see our next one. Now this one is going to have a default value. So if you have a default value, after the closing curly brace, you just set it equal to whatever the value is. And then you do need to end that one with a semicolon. And our next one is also going to have a default value. And we're setting it equal to true. So at this point, I've created my kind of very simple little model based on a class. I'm going to save it. And we have a model, but we have it connected to nothing. So what we're going to be doing is creating a new action method in the employee controller. And then we're going to create a new employee form that actually utilizes our model. So we're going to go into the employee controller. And then at the bottom here, we're going to add a public action method. We're going to call it new employee. And this is going to return a view. And the name of the view is not going to be new employee. We're going to call it new employee form. Okay, and I'm going to save. And now I'm going to right click on new employee and I'm going to add the view. And we're going to call the view new employee form. And we'll go ahead and keep all the defaults and click on add. And this form is going to utilize our model. So the very first line, we have to give it some razor code indicating that we are using a model. And so we have to give it the name of our application. And if you can't remember, it's at the top here. Okay, so it's the name of our application dot models dot and then the name of our model. And I'm going to put some spaces in here. And down here for the H2, if you want to pull in the view bag title, you can. Otherwise, you can just put spaces in and result is going to be the same. So if you want to do at view bag title, it will pull in this title. Otherwise, you could have just put in the spaces. And we're going to go ahead and put in our HTML for a form. Now you'll notice the method of this is post. That's actually kind of important because once we submit it, we want it to go to a confirmation screen. And so we're going to be using that post method to route to a confirmation, and you'll see how that works in a minute. Now, as I key in all this text, I am going to pause the recording. All right, so I finished entering everything. A couple things to note: that the name and the ID match the variable names that I have in my model. Okay, so you'll notice that the variables that I have here match what I put over here in the form. And I've included at model so it knows what model to connect to. Okay, otherwise everything in here is just kind of like a normal HTML form. So I've saved this already and I am going to go ahead and run this thing. Yeah, it's probably going to give me an error because I need to put new employee in there instead of new employee form. Because remember, it goes to the action method in the controller first. Okay, then it routes us to this new employee form. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close. So assuming we filled out the form, what we want it to do is basically route us to a confirmation page. And so what we can do in the controller is check to see if the form has been submitted. So we can add a second new employee action method. And in fact, we're going to put this above the one that displays the form. And for this second one, we only want it to go through this particular action method if the form has been posted. So we are going to add a little data attribute, even though we're not really going to cover these for a couple weeks. And the attribute is HTTP post. So that means if a form has posted, go through this code. Now, knowing that the form has posted, we can actually pull in some data from the model. In fact, we can pull in the first name, last name, and the title. Actually, we can pull in whatever we want, but that's what we're choosing. And then to pass that along to our confirmation view, we will use a view bag for now. There's other ways to do it, but for right now, we'll do what's simple. So we're going to pass along the full name. And then let us add on a couple spaces, the title. And the view that we're going to return has to have a different name. So we're going to be creating one called confirm employee. So let me save. So you'll notice here that we are pulling in that data from the form. And we're going to go ahead and create that confirm employee view. Let me put a little space in here. And then we're going to call this thing new employee confirmation screen. So this is going to be kind of simple. The following employee information has been added to the system. And we will have a view bag dot message. And we have to remember to put the @ sign in front or it will not work. And let us save this. And let's run this thing. Okay, so now we want to go to employee / new employee. Takes us to the form. department. Let's see. This will be an hourly, currently active. Oops, better change the spelling. And let me do submit here. Okay, and so it has automatically now routed us to the confirmation. Here is the view bag information. And you can see that all of that works. So I do have a typo. I'm going to exit out of here. And let's see, I'm going to fix that really quick. And I will save all. So in our next hands-on, we are going to be modifying our navigation menu because it is kind of a pain to edit that URL and key everything in. So we're going to be modifying that. And I will also show you how to update to Bootstrap 4.